Every failing project, every missed opportunity, and every unresolved conflict in an organization can be traced back to a single point of failure, a question that was never asked. The truth is that every seemingly insurmountable obstacle, from a demotivated team to a failing project, has a logical structure beneath its chaotic surface. The difference between a leader who is constantly overwhelmed and one who confidently navigates complexity lies not in their circumstances, but in their ability to ask the right questions to reveal that structure. This is the power of critical thinking. It is not an abstract academic skill. It is a practical, powerful framework for deconstructing problems and making clear, effective choices. This book is your guide to mastering that framework, empowering you to lead with clarity, solve problems with precision, and turn every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Mastering Problem-Solving Leadership, a Critical Thinking Framework, written and published by Success Attraction Mindset. Chapter 1. Unlocking Critical Thinking Power. Imagine a commercial airline pilot. For 99% of their flights, the sky is clear, the route is programmed, and the job is to follow a well-defined and predictable procedure. This is routine management, and it is relatively easy. But one day, the pilot encounters a violent, unpredicted storm. The instruments flicker, alarms blare, and the pre-planned route becomes irrelevant. It is in this moment of intense crisis that the pilot's true skill is revealed. They must instantly move beyond procedure and begin to think critically. They must analyze the storm's movement, assess the plane's condition, process multiple streams of conflicting information, and make a series of life-or-death decisions. This is the essence of true leadership. It is not about managing the calm skies. It is about having the mental power to navigate the storm. Critical thinking is that power. This brings us to a pervasive and often unrecognized problem that holds many leaders back. They spend their entire careers flying on autopilot. They rely on a set of ingrained mental shortcuts, habitual responses, and unexamined assumptions to get through the day. When a new problem arises, they reach for the same solution that worked last time. When presented with new information, they tend to accept it at face value without questioning its source or its validity. This autopilot thinking might be efficient for routine tasks, but it is dangerously inadequate for navigating the complex and ever-changing landscape of modern leadership. This reliance on mental shortcuts leads to a frustrating cycle of recurring problems, superficial solutions, and missed opportunities. The leader feels perpetually reactive, always a step behind, and unable to understand why their well-intentioned efforts often fail to produce lasting results. They are trapped not by their circumstances, but by the limitations of their own unexamined thought processes. The transformative solution is to consciously and deliberately unlock the power of critical thinking in your leadership practice. Critical thinking is not about being negative or overly critical of others. It is the disciplined process of moving from a passive, reactive mindset to an active, intentional, and analytical one. It is the ability to step back from the immediate emotional response to a situation and systematically evaluate information, challenge assumptions, and consider diverse perspectives before forming a judgment or making a decision. By cultivating this skill, you are essentially upgrading your brain's operating system. You move from being a simple follower of procedures to becoming a skilled navigator of complexity. This unlocks profound benefits. You gain the clarity to see the true root of problems, the confidence to make sound, defensible decisions, and the ability to break free from the exhausting cycle of reactive firefighting, allowing you to lead with purpose and foresight. To begin unlocking this power, you must integrate 3 foundational principles into your daily leadership approach. The first and most important principle is to question everything, especially your own assumptions. We all navigate the world with a set of deeply ingrained beliefs and assumptions, many of which we are not even aware of. Critical thinking begins with the discipline of surfacing and challenging these assumptions. This works because it acts as a powerful antidote to the cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs, that can cloud our judgment. To put this into practice, you must cultivate the habit of asking probing questions. When your team presents a conclusion, ask, how do we know this is true? What evidence is this based on? What are we assuming to be true for this to be correct? Even more powerfully, you can use the technique of assumption reversal. When facing a major decision, list all your core assumptions and then ask, what if the opposite were true? For example, a leadership team assumes that sales are declining because a new competitor has a better product. They could spend months trying to copy that competitor. But if they ask, what if our competitor's product is not the problem? It forces them to investigate other possibilities, such as a decline in their own customer service or a flaw in their distribution network, which may be the true root cause. The second principle is to actively seek out diverse perspectives. Our brains naturally prefer the comfort of agreement and the familiarity of people who think like us. This creates dangerous echo chambers where our own beliefs are constantly reinforced and our blind spots are never revealed. A critical thinker understands that genuine insight is often found in the friction of disagreement. This works because it systematically stress tests your ideas against different viewpoints, revealing weaknesses and new possibilities you could not have seen from your own limited perspective. To put this into practice, you must go beyond simply tolerating dissent and begin to actively invite it. When making an important decision, deliberately seek out the opinions of people who you know have different experiences, different roles in the company, or even different political or social views. You can formalize this by assigning someone on your team the role of devil's advocate in a meeting, with their sole job being to poke holes in the prevailing argument. For example, before launching a new marketing campaign, a leader gets feedback not just from her marketing team, but also from the head of finance, who will question the cost, the lead engineer, who will question the technical claims, and a junior customer support representative, who knows what customers actually complain about. This 360-degree feedback almost always leads to a stronger, more resilient plan. The third principle is to learn to differentiate between observation and inference. This is the core discipline of separating objective facts from your subjective interpretations of those facts. An observation is a simple statement of what you can see, hear, or measure. An inference is the story you tell yourself about what that observation means. We often leap directly from observation to inference without even realizing it, and this is where many poor judgments are born. This principle works because it forces a pause between seeing something and concluding something, allowing for a more thoughtful and less reactive analysis. To put this into practice, you can use the simple mental framework of consciously separating the two in your mind or in conversation. You can say, here is what I observed, before saying, and the story I am telling myself about that is. For example, an observation might be, John has been late to our team meeting 3 times this month. A flawed immediate inference might be, John is lazy and doesn't respect our team's time. A critical thinker would pause after the observation. They would recognize that the inference of laziness is just one possible story. Other possible stories could be that John is dealing with a family emergency, is struggling with a new public transportation schedule, or is feeling overwhelmed and disengaged for a specific reason. By separating the fact from the story, the leader is prompted to investigate with curiosity. Is everything okay, John? Rather than to judge with prejudice, leading to a far more constructive and compassionate outcome. You now understand the foundational principles of critical thinking. You know that you must question your assumptions, seek out different views, and separate fact from interpretation. But how do you take this newfound power and apply it directly to the messy, complex, and urgent problems that land on your desk every single day? How do you transform this mindset into a practical, step-by-step process for solving anything? The next chapter will give you the tools to do just that. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Mindset, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 2. Sharpening your problem-solving edge. Imagine you go to a doctor with a persistent, nagging cough. A novice or careless doctor might listen to your chest for a few seconds, say, It sounds like a common cold and hand you a prescription for cough syrup before rushing to their next patient. The cough syrup might temporarily soothe the symptom, but if the underlying cause is something more serious, like pneumonia or bronchitis, the problem will only get worse. Now imagine you go to a master diagnostician. This doctor listens intently to your cough, but they also ask a dozen probing questions. When did it start? Is it worse at night? Have you had a fever? They take a chest x-ray. They analyze your medical history. They are not just treating the symptom, the cough. They are methodically searching for the root cause of the problem. This is the difference between superficial action and effective problem solving. For a leader, every problem that arises in their organization is like that cough. You can either apply a quick superficial cough syrup solution, or you can become a master diagnostician and solve the problem for good. This brings us to one of the most common and exhausting traps in leadership, the firefighter syndrome. Leaders often feel immense pressure to be decisive and to take action quickly. When a problem arises, a drop in team morale, a project that is behind schedule, a surge in customer complaints, the immediate impulse is to do something, to put out the fire as fast as possible. This leads to a constant flurry of reactive, surface-level fixes. Low morale is met with a team pizza party. A late project is met with a mandate for the team to work overtime on the weekend. Customer complaints are met with discount vouchers. While these actions might create the temporary illusion of progress, they do absolutely nothing to address the underlying structural cause of the problem. Like a weed that has been cut at the surface, the root system remains perfectly intact, and the problem inevitably grows back, often stronger and more tangled than before. This relentless cycle of reactive problem solving is deeply demoralizing for the team. It completely erodes the leader's credibility, and it allows foundational issues within the organization to fester and spread, leading to chronic inefficiency and widespread burnout. The transformative solution is to adopt a systematic, critical thinking framework for problem solving. This is a profound shift in your approach. It requires you to resist the powerful, anxiety-driven temptation for immediate action, and instead invest your initial energy in developing a crystal clear and accurate diagnosis of the problem's true nature. The core idea is simple but powerful. You cannot effectively solve a problem that you do not deeply understand. The time you invest up front in a rigorous and disciplined diagnosis will be paid back tenfold in the effectiveness and permanence of your solution. By applying a systematic, analytical process to problem solving, you move beyond treating mere symptoms and begin to heal the underlying condition. This approach not only leads to far more effective and enduring solutions, but it also builds the long-term health, intelligence, and resilience of your organization. It stops the exhausting cycle of firefighting and empowers you to make surgical, high-leverage interventions that solve problems once and for all, freeing up your time and energy to focus on leading, not just managing crises. To become a master problem solver, you must guide your team through a clear, three-step framework. The first and most critical step is to accurately frame the problem. This sounds deceptively simple, but it is the step where most problem-solving efforts fail before they even begin. Leaders and teams often mistake a vague feeling or a symptom for the problem itself. A powerful technique to ensure you are framing the problem with precision is to use a problem statement template. This involves articulating the issue in a single, clear, concise sentence that includes 4 key elements: what the specific issue is, where and when it is happening, who or what it is impacting, and what its measurable significance is. This works because it forces you to move from vague complaints to specific, observable facts. For example, a leader is facing a situation where team morale seems low. A weak, unfocused problem definition would be, "Our team has a morale problem." An analytical leader would work with their team to craft a precise problem statement like, "In the last quarter when voluntary turnover among our junior software engineers, who has increased by 30%, what? Which has delayed our product launch by 6 weeks and is projected to cost the company an additional $150,000 in recruitment fees, impact." This level of precision immediately focuses the entire problem-solving effort, transforming a vague feeling into a concrete, measurable, and solvable issue. Once the problem is precisely framed, the second step is to identify all the potential root causes. No significant problem in an organization is ever the result of a single cause. It is almost always the result of a chain or a complex web of interconnected events and conditions. Your task as an analytical leader is not to find the one obvious cause, but to uncover the entire system of causes. A highly effective tool for this is the 5 whys technique. You start with your precise problem statement and ask the question, why, at least 5 times, with each answer becoming the basis for the next question. This disciplined questioning works because it systematically drills down past the immediate surface-level causes to the deeper, often hidden systemic issues. Let's use our turnover problem. 1. Why has turnover among junior engineers increased by 30%? Because they are accepting offers from other companies. 2. Why are they accepting other offers? Because those offers include a significant salary increase. Why are other companies offering them more money? Because their skills in our specific software language are in very high demand. 4. Why are we not matching those salary offers? Because our current salary bands for junior roles have not been updated in 3 years. 5. Why have our salary bands not been updated? Because our annual compensation review process is not designed to react to rapid changes in the tech talent market. In 5 simple questions, the team has moved from a superficial cause, people are leaving, to a deep systemic root cause, a flawed and outdated compensation review process. The third and final step of the framework is to develop and test your proposed solutions. Now that you have identified a deep systemic root cause, you can begin to brainstorm targeted solutions. However, even at this stage, it is crucial to avoid assuming your proposed solution will work perfectly. Instead, you should treat your solution as a hypothesis that needs to be tested in a small, controlled way before you roll it out to the entire organization. This disciplined scientific approach works because it allows you to gather real-world data on the effectiveness of your solution and to make adjustments before you invest significant time and resources. It dramatically lowers the risk of implementing a large-scale solution that has unintended negative consequences. In our example, the root cause is the outdated compensation process. A proposed solution, hypothesis, might be, if we create a new process to review our tech salary bands quarterly instead of annually, we will be able to make more competitive offers and our voluntary turnover rate for junior engineers will decrease. Instead of immediately changing the entire company's policy, the leader could test this. They could pilot the new quarterly review process for just the engineering department for the next 6 months. They can then measure the turnover rate in that specific department and compare it to the rest of the company to get clear quantitative data on whether their solution is actually working as intended. This evidence-based approach ensures that the final company-wide solution is not just well-intentioned, but is proven to be effective. You are now armed with a precise, powerful, and repeatable framework for solving your most complex problems. You know how to frame the issue with clarity, how to diagnose its true root cause, and how to test your solutions in a disciplined way. But solving problems is often a private, analytical act. How do you translate this internal skill into your external, day-to-day leadership presence? How do you use this same precision to build trust, communicate with clarity, and make your entire team feel a sense of stability and confidence in your leadership? The next chapter will show you exactly how to do that. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Mindset, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 3. Leading with Analytical Precision. Imagine you are a passenger on an airplane flying through severe turbulence. The cabin is shaking, and an audible sense of anxiety is spreading among the passengers. Suddenly, the captain's voice comes over the intercom. If the captain's voice is shaky, uncertain, and full of hesitation, the passenger's fear will escalate into outright panic. But if the voice is calm, clear, and precise, explaining exactly what is happening, what steps the crew is taking, and what the expected outcome is, the feeling in the cabin transforms. The situation is still dangerous, But the passengers feel a profound sense of trust, not because the turbulence has stopped, but because they believe they are in the hands of a competent, logical, and composed professional who is in full command of the situation. This is the power of analytical precision in leadership. It is the ability to project a sense of calm, clarity, and logical control, especially when your team is navigating the turbulence of uncertainty, change, or crisis. This brings us to a subtle but highly damaging leadership failure, the inconsistent genius. This is the leader who may be personally brilliant and capable of great insights, but whose day-to-day leadership style is erratic and unpredictable. Their decisions can seem brilliant one day and completely baffling the next. They might champion a data-driven approach in one meeting, only to make a major decision based on a gut feeling in the next. They might give one team member highly specific, constructive feedback, while giving another vague, unhelpful praise. This inconsistency creates a deeply unsettling environment for the team. They are never quite sure which version of their leader they are going to get. They cannot discern the underlying logic or the consistent principles that guide the leader's choices. This erodes the foundation of psychological safety, which is the bedrock of any high-performing team. Team members become hesitant to take risks, ask questions, or challenge ideas because they cannot predict how the leader will react. They feel like they are constantly walking on eggshells, navigating a landscape of shifting priorities and unpredictable moods. The transformative solution is to deliberately cultivate a leadership style defined by analytical precision. This is about consciously making your thought processes visible and your leadership approach consistent and logical. It means committing to using objective evidence as the basis for your decisions, applying consistent standards in your evaluations, and communicating with a clarity that leaves no room for ambiguity or misinterpretation. When you lead with analytical precision, you are not just being smart, you are being trustworthy. You are building a stable and predictable environment where your team feels safe, respected, and confident in your direction. This works because it removes the emotional guesswork from your leadership. Your team learns to trust not just you as a person, but more importantly, the soundness and fairness of your process. This builds a deep and resilient form of trust that can withstand challenges and inspire your team to do their best work, secure in the knowledge that they are being led with logic and integrity. To build this powerful style into your leadership, there are 3 core pillars of precision you must erect. The first pillar is transparency of rationale. This means making a consistent habit of showing your work. It is not enough for your team to know what you have decided. To gain their genuine commitment, they need to understand why. Every major decision or directive should be accompanied by a clear and concise explanation of the evidence and the logic that led you to that conclusion. This works because it demystifies your leadership and respectfully treats your team members as intelligent partners in the process. It replaces the reluctant compliance that comes from a top-down order with the enthusiastic buy-in that comes from shared understanding. For example, instead of simply announcing, "We are shifting our marketing budget from Platform A to Platform B," a leader practicing analytical precision would explain the rationale. They would say, "I've reviewed the conversion data from the last 6 months, and our customer acquisition cost on Platform A is now $50, while on Platform B it is only $15. By reallocating our budget, our analysis shows we can acquire over 3 times as many new customers for the same investment, which will help us hit our growth targets and fund our team bonuses." This transparent rationale makes the decision feel logical and smart, not arbitrary. The second pillar is consistency of process. Human beings thrive in environments where the rules are clear and applied fairly to everyone. Analytical precision in leadership means creating and adhering to consistent processes for recurring tasks and decisions, especially those that involve evaluating people or ideas. This works because it creates a powerful sense of fairness and dramatically reduces the role of office politics or personal bias. When your team knows that all ideas are judged by the same objective yardstick, they trust the system, even when their own idea is not chosen. In practice, This means developing and using standardized frameworks for common leadership functions. For instance, a leader could implement a simple, one-page idea brief template that every team member must use to propose a new initiative. The template could require them to define the problem, present supporting data, outline the required resources, and define what success looks like. This ensures that every new idea is presented with the same level of analytical rigor. Similarly, using a structured interview process with a consistent set of questions and a scoring rubric for all candidates ensures that hiring decisions are based on objective qualifications, not on which candidate had the most charming personality. This procedural fairness is a cornerstone of a high-trust culture. The third pillar is objectivity in feedback. Giving feedback is one of a leader's most important and most difficult responsibilities. Analytical precision transforms feedback from a potentially emotional and confrontational event into a constructive and data-driven conversation. This means focusing your feedback exclusively on specific, observable behaviors and their direct impact, rather than on vague personality traits or subjective judgments. A highly effective framework for this is the Situation Behavior Impact (SBI) model. This works because it removes accusation and judgment from the conversation and replaces it with objective data points that the other person cannot easily dispute. It makes the feedback feel less like a personal attack and more like a helpful analysis of a specific event. For example, instead of saying, "You were really disrespectful to the finance team," which is a subjective judgment, a precise leader would use SBI. In the budget meeting this morning situation, when you referred to the finance team's projections as a fantasy behavior, I observed that their team leader immediately crossed his arms and did not contribute any more ideas for the rest of the meeting. Impact. This objective, data-driven feedback is far more likely to be heard, accepted, and acted upon, leading to real growth rather than defensiveness. Leading with analytical precision builds the unshakable foundation of trust upon which all great leadership is built. Now that this foundation is in place, how do you apply it to your most critical function? Making the actual high-stakes choices when you are faced with multiple compelling options, each with its own complex set of risks and rewards. What specific strategies can you use to navigate the fog of a difficult decision and choose a path with confidence? The next chapter will equip you with a powerful toolkit of decision-making strategies. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Mindset, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 4. Mastering Decision-Making Strategies. Imagine you are standing at a crossroads in the heart of a dense, unfamiliar forest. Multiple paths diverge before you, each disappearing into the shadows, each promising a different destination. You have no map, and the sun is beginning to set. To choose a path at random is a gamble. To remain where you are is to be consumed by the darkness. This is the precise feeling many leaders experience when faced with a high-stakes decision. The pressure to choose, combined with the uncertainty of the outcome, can be paralyzing. A master navigator, however, does not choose randomly. They pull out a compass, they check the position of the stars, they analyze the terrain, they use proven strategies to turn a guess into a calculated choice. As a leader, your role is to be that master navigator for your team, using clear, effective decision-making strategies to chart a confident path through the fog of uncertainty. This brings us to one of the most common and debilitating challenges in leadership: decision paralysis. When faced with a critical choice that has significant consequences, such as approving a major budget, launching a new product, or restructuring a team, the weight of the responsibility can be immense. The leader, wanting desperately to make the perfect choice, gets trapped in a cycle of overanalysis. They request more data, they hold more meetings, they create more complex spreadsheets, all in a futile attempt to eliminate every last drop of uncertainty. While they are stuck in this loop, the team's momentum grinds to a halt, morale begins to sag, and crucial windows of opportunity slam shut. The alternative, often born from the sheer exhaustion of this paralysis, is equally dangerous, making a rash, impulsive decision just to escape the pressure. This leads to choices that are poorly thought out and often need to be reversed later, further eroding the team's trust and confidence. Both paralysis and impulsivity stem from the same root cause, the lack of a structured, reliable process for making the decision. The transformative solution is to understand that effective decision-making is not about finding a magical, perfect answer, but about executing a sound, rational process. The goal is to equip yourself with a toolkit of proven decision-making strategies that bring structure, clarity, and objectivity to the chaos of choice. By adopting these frameworks, you shift your focus from the outcome, which is often outside your full control, to the quality of your process, which is entirely within your control. This is a profoundly liberating mindset shift. It frees you from the impossible burden of having to be a perfect fortune teller, and instead empowers you with the quiet confidence that you have made the best possible choice based on a rigorous and thoughtful evaluation. These strategies provide a clear roadmap that guides you and your team from a state of anxious uncertainty to one of decisive clarity, allowing you to act with conviction and purpose. One of the most practical and versatile strategies for choosing between multiple good options is the cost-benefit analysis. This goes far beyond a simple pros and cons list. It is a disciplined process of evaluating the full spectrum of positive and negative consequences for each potential choice. To apply it, you gather your team, and for each option, you brainstorm two comprehensive lists: all the potential costs and all the potential benefits. It is crucial to think broadly here. Costs include not just the obvious financial price, but also the investment of time, the potential for team disruption or burnout, and the risk to your brand's reputation. Benefits include not just projected revenue, but also potential gains in market share, the development of new team skills, or an improvement in customer loyalty. Once you have your lists, you can make the analysis even more powerful by assigning a numerical score or weight to each item based on its strategic importance. This works because it forces a holistic, 360-degree view of each choice, preventing the team from being swayed by a single dramatic benefit while ignoring a host of hidden but significant costs. For example, a team is deciding between two potential software vendors. Vendor A is much cheaper, a clear financial benefit. Vendor B is more expensive but has a vastly superior user interface. A simple analysis might favor Vendor A, but a deep cost-benefit analysis might reveal the hidden costs of Vendor A's poor interface, higher training costs, lower user adoption rates, and frustrated employees, which could ultimately cost the company more in lost productivity than the initial savings. A second, deeply insightful strategy, particularly for major career or strategic decisions that have a strong personal component, is the regret minimization framework. This framework shifts the focus from short-term data analysis to long-term emotional and personal fulfillment. To use it, you must project yourself into the future. Imagine you are 80 years old, looking back on your life and career. Then ask yourself the powerful question: which inaction will I regret more? Will I regret having tried this and failed, or will I regret having never tried at all? This works because it cuts through the immediate, short-term fears that so often paralyze us: the fear of failure, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of leaving a comfortable situation. It reframes the decision in the context of your entire life's narrative, prioritizing long-term growth and experience over short-term comfort and security. For instance, a talented leader is offered a secure, high-paying promotion within her large corporation, but she has always dreamed of leaving to start her own company. Her short-term analysis is filled with the risks of the startup path. But when she applies the regret minimization framework, she realizes that at age 80, she would be haunted by the question of what if, had she not pursued her dream. The regret of inaction would be far greater than the regret of a potential failure. This framework provides the clarity and courage to make bold, life-altering choices that are aligned with her deepest values. A third and absolutely essential strategy to use after you have made a choice but before you have fully implemented it is the pre-mortem analysis. This is a powerful technique for identifying and mitigating risks. While a post-mortem analyzes a failure after it has happened, a pre-mortem is an exercise in prospective hindsight. You gather your implementation team and set the stage with a powerful imaginative prompt. Imagine it is 1 year from now, and our decision to launch this new product has been a complete and utter failure. It was a disaster that set the company back significantly. Let's spend the next hour brainstorming every single reason, big and small, why it failed. This technique works because it brilliantly subverts the natural tendency for optimism and groupthink that often occurs after a decision has been made. It gives everyone on the team explicit permission to be critical, skeptical, and even pessimistic in a way that is incredibly productive. The list of potential reasons for failure that you generate becomes an invaluable checklist of risks that you can now proactively manage and mitigate. In our example, the team might identify potential causes of failure, like our marketing message was confusing and customers didn't understand what the product did, or a key competitor launched a similar, cheaper product a week before us. Armed with this list, the team can now take concrete actions to prevent these deaths, such as refining the marketing message and developing a stronger competitive differentiation strategy before the launch ever happens. You are now equipped with a powerful toolkit of strategies to make clear, confident, and well-reasoned choices. You know how to compare options objectively, how to make bold choices aligned with your values, and how to de-risk your plans before you commit. But what happens when the decision is made and the path is chosen, but the data is incomplete and the logical next steps are not clear? How do you harness the deeper parts of your leadership intelligence to see the bigger picture, connect the dots that others miss, and lead with true strategic vision? The next chapter will explore how to elevate your leadership through the power of insight. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Mindset, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 5. Elevating Leadership Through Insight. Imagine you're looking at a satellite image of a vast, sprawling city. From this high vantage point, you do not see individual cars or people. Instead, you see the entire system. You see the major arteries where traffic flows smoothly, and the intersections where it consistently backs up. You see how the residential neighborhoods connect to the commercial districts and the green spaces. You can identify patterns, predict bottlenecks, and understand the city as a single, interconnected organism. Now imagine you are standing on a single street corner within that same city. Your perspective is limited. You see only the cars immediately around you, the shops on your block, the people walking past. You have a detailed ground-level view of one tiny component, but you have completely lost the context of the whole. This is the difference between analysis and insight. Analysis is the ground-level view. It is the essential skill of understanding the individual data points. Insight is the satellite view. It is the advanced leadership skill of synthesizing those data points to see the bigger picture, the hidden connections, and the strategic patterns that govern the entire system. This brings us to a subtle but critical challenge that can stall the growth of even highly intelligent leaders. They fall into the analyst's trap. Having mastered the skills of deconstructing problems and analyzing specific data sets, they become incredibly effective at optimizing the individual trees, but they completely lose sight of the overall health and direction of the forest. This is the leader who can tell you the precise sales figures for every product in every region last quarter, but cannot articulate a clear and compelling story about where the market is heading over the next 5 years. They are excellent at making their current processes more efficient, but struggle to envision the entirely new business models that will be required to compete in the future. Their meetings are filled with detailed reviews of departmental data, but they lack a unifying strategic narrative that connects the work of the sales team to the work of the engineering team to the work of the marketing team. This leaves the team feeling competent and busy in their individual silos, but disconnected from a larger, shared purpose. They may be winning the small, tactical battles day to day, but the organization risks losing the long-term strategic war because their leader's perspective has become too narrow. The transformative solution lies in deliberately elevating your thinking from the skill of analysis to the art of synthesis. Analysis is the process of breaking complex things down into their smaller, more manageable component parts, which is an essential foundation. Synthesis, however, is the equally important creative act of putting those disparate pieces back together in a new and meaningful way to form a cohesive, insightful whole. It is the ability to connect seemingly unrelated data points from different parts of your organization. A customer complaint from the support team, a new hire's salary demand from HR, a competitor's press release from the marketing team, and weave them into a single, powerful strategic narrative that reveals a hidden opportunity or threat. This is the skill that transforms a leader from a skilled manager into a true strategist. It allows you to move beyond simply optimizing what is and begin to powerfully create what could be. Developing the ability to synthesize information gives you strategic foresight and allows you to communicate your vision with a clarity and conviction that inspires your entire organization to see the bigger picture along with you. To make this crucial leap from analysis to synthesis, you must first master the practice of connecting the organizational silos. A modern organization produces a vast amount of data, but it is often trapped within functional departments. The sales team has rich data on customer objections. The marketing team has deep data on audience engagement. The finance team has precise data on profit margins. In most companies, these data sets are analyzed in isolation. The most valuable strategic insights, however, almost always live at the intersection of these silos. To practice this skill, you must become a dedicated information gatherer and dot connector. You can schedule regular, brief check-ins with leaders from other functions with the specific goal of understanding their top 3 data-driven insights from the past month. You must then actively look for the story behind the story that connects them. For example, your sales team reports that they are increasingly losing deals to a competitor on price, a sales data point. Separately, your product team reports that user engagement with your most advanced features is surprisingly low, a product data point, and your finance team reports that the profit margin on your premium product tier is extremely high, a finance data point. Synthesized, these 3 facts tell a powerful strategic story. You are over-engineering and overpricing your product for a market that only needs a simpler, more affordable solution. This synthesized insight can lead to a game-changing strategic pivot. Second, you must use your analytical skills to deliberately develop strategic foresight. This is the ability to use current data and observable trends to anticipate future challenges and opportunities before they become obvious to your competitors. It is about looking at the trajectory of your data, the slow, steady lines on the graph, and asking the powerful question, if this trend continues at its current rate, what will our world, our customers, and our industry look like in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years? To practice this, you can facilitate a future state workshop with your leadership team. In this workshop, you present several key, undeniable trend lines relevant to your business. You then break the team into groups and ask them to brainstorm and present what they believe the biggest threats and opportunities will be if those trends continue unabated. This works because it systematically pulls the entire team out of the immediate, short-term focus of the next quarter and forces them to engage in long-term, strategic thinking together. For instance, a leader in the automotive industry might plot the accelerating trend of electric vehicle adoption. The foresight exercise would lead them to anticipate a future where their most profitable business is not selling cars, but providing battery management software and subscription services. This foresight allows them to begin strategically investing in software development years before their competitors realize the old manufacturing model is obsolete. Third, you must learn to translate your synthesized insights into compelling narratives. A brilliant strategic insight is utterly useless if it remains trapped in a complex spreadsheet or in the confines of your own mind. To make it powerful and actionable, you must be able to translate your complex analysis into a simple, clear, and emotionally resonant story that your entire team can understand, believe in, and get behind. The human brain is not wired to remember lists of data points. It is wired to remember and be moved by stories. This works by giving meaning and context to your data, appealing not just to your team's logic, but also to their need for purpose and direction. To practice this, you can use a simple and timeless storytelling structure. Begin by establishing the current, stable reality, the once upon a time. Then introduce the challenge or opportunity that your analysis has revealed, the inciting incident. And finally, present your strategic decision as the clear and heroic path to a better future, the journey and resolution. For example, instead of presenting a dozen slides on shifting customer demographics, a leader could synthesize it into a story. For 10 years, our company has been the trusted leader for our established customer base, the once upon a time. But our analysis shows a powerful new generation of customers is emerging with entirely different values and needs. And right now, they don't see us as a solution, the challenge. Therefore, we are making the strategic decision to launch a bold new brand dedicated to serving this new generation, ensuring our company will thrive for the next 10 years and beyond, the journey. This narrative is infinitely more powerful and memorable than a data dump. You can now see the bigger picture. You can synthesize information into a coherent whole, look into the future with strategic foresight, and communicate your vision through compelling, data-driven stories. You can see the entire board. But what is the ultimate test of a problem-solving leader? It is not just solving the problems that arise, or even anticipating the problems of the future. It is how you react when problems turn into full-blown crises and failures. How do you transform your organization's greatest challenges into its greatest victories? The final chapter will show you how to turn every obstacle into a strategic win. Remember to subscribe to Success Attraction Mindset, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 6. Turning Challenges into Wins. Imagine a master ceramicist who is crafting a beautiful, one-of-a-kind porcelain bowl. After weeks of painstaking work, just as it comes out of the kiln, it slips from their hands and shatters on the floor. For most, this would be a moment of pure loss, the end of the story. The broken pieces would be swept up and discarded. But this artisan practices the ancient Japanese art of kintsugi, which means to join with gold. Instead of throwing the pieces away, they meticulously reassemble the bowl, using a special lacquer mixed with powdered gold to bind the fragments together. The final result is a bowl that is not just repaired, but is now more beautiful, more valuable, and more interesting because it was broken. The lines of gold tell a story of resilience and transformation. This is the highest level of problem-solving leadership. It is the ability to see a shattering failure not as an end, but as an opportunity to rebuild in a way that is stronger, wiser, and more valuable than before. This brings us to one of the most difficult and deeply human challenges of leadership, our natural reaction to significant setbacks and failures. When a major project fails, a key client is lost, or a market turns against us, the instinctive human responses are fear, defensiveness, and blame. Leaders, feeling the immense pressure of the failure, often become defensive, seeking to hide the extent of the mistake or to find a person or an external factor to scapegoat. The organization's focus shifts from what can we learn from this to whose fault is this. This fear-based reaction is toxic. It creates a culture where people are terrified to take risks, where bad news is hidden until it's too late, and where the incredibly valuable lessons embedded within the failure are lost forever. The organization doesn't just fail, it fails to learn from its failure, guaranteeing that it will make similar mistakes again in the future. The transformative solution is to adopt what is known as an antifragile mindset. This powerful concept, introduced by the author Nassim Nicholas Taleb, goes a step beyond simple resilience. A resilient system is one that can withstand a shock and bounce back to its original state, like a rubber ball. An antifragile system, however, is one that actually feeds on volatility, stress, and failure, becoming stronger as a result of the shock, like a human muscle that grows back stronger after being torn during exercise. An antifragile leader, therefore, does not just endure challenges, they use them as fuel. They view every crisis, every failure, and every unexpected setback not as a threat to their leadership, but as a high-value, data-generating event that provides an unparalleled opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. This mindset shift transforms your relationship with adversity, turning what others see as a devastating loss into your organization's most powerful catalyst for growth and innovation. To build an anti-fragile organization, you must take 3 deliberate actions in the face of any significant challenge. The first and most critical action is to conduct rigorous, blameless postmortems. Immediately after any significant failure or setback, you must gather the team involved and facilitate a systematic, data-driven analysis of the event. The single most important ground rule of this meeting is that it is focused entirely on understanding the systemic causes of the failure, not on assigning personal blame. The guiding question is always, what can we learn from the process, not who is responsible for the outcome. This works because it creates a climate of profound psychological safety, which is the prerequisite for honest reflection. When people know they will not be punished for mistakes, they are free to speak openly about what really happened. In practice, after a major new product launch fails to meet its sales targets, the leader facilitates a meeting where the team collaboratively maps out the entire process, from market research to engineering to the marketing launch. This analysis might reveal systemic flaws like our market research process was based on flawed assumptions, or the communication between engineering and marketing was poor, rather than scapegoating the marketing manager or the lead engineer. These systemic lessons are pure gold. The second action is to consciously reframe the narrative around the challenge. A leader is the organization's chief storyteller, the primary interpreter of events. The story you tell about a failure will directly shape your team's emotional response and their capacity to recover from it. A narrative of blame and loss will create a culture of fear. A narrative of learning and opportunity will create a culture of resilience. This works because it gives your team a sense of agency and purpose in the face of adversity. It helps them make sense of the setback and channels their emotional energy toward a constructive future rather than a painful past. For example, a company loses its single largest client to a competitor. This is a huge blow. Instead of framing it as a disaster, the leader could tell a different story in the all-hands meeting. Losing our biggest client is a painful wake-up call. For too long, we have been complacent, taking their business for granted. This event gives us a powerful and unavoidable opportunity to look in the mirror, to radically improve our product, and to innovate in a way we haven't in years. This is not an ending. It is the beginning of our comeback story, and we will be much stronger for it. This reframing can turn a moment of despair into a powerful rallying cry. The third and most advanced action is to actively extract the second-order win. This is the ability to look beyond the immediate loss or crisis and find a hidden, long-term strategic opportunity that the failure has now made possible. It is about playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. This requires creativity and an opportunistic mindset in the best sense of the word. It works by training you to see that every crisis rearranges the board, and that this new arrangement can often be turned to your advantage. For example, a company's main technology platform suffers a catastrophic multi-day outage, causing significant customer anger and revenue loss. The first-order task is, of course, to fix the immediate problem and restore service. This is crisis management, but the anti-fragile leader is already looking for the second-order win. They realize that this very public and painful failure provides them with the undeniable justification they need to get funding for a complete and long overdue modernization of their entire tech stack. Before the crisis, this strategic project was seen as too expensive. Now, after the crisis, it is seen as absolutely essential. The failure, as painful as it was, unlocked a massive strategic win that will strengthen the company for the next decade. Mastering the art of turning challenges into wins is the ultimate expression of the principles in this book. It is the culmination of a journey that begins with your own internal commitment to critical thinking and ends with the creation of a truly anti-fragile organization. It is the final recognition that a leader's most profound and lasting impact is not measured by the absence of problems, but by the strength, wisdom, and value the organization gains from having faced them. True problem-solving leadership isn't about avoiding the cracks and breaks. It's about having the courage and the wisdom to fill them with gold. creating a team and an organization that is more resilient, more valuable, and more beautiful for having been tested by the fire. Throughout this journey, we have explored the essential path to mastering problem-solving leadership. We began by unlocking the fundamental power of critical thinking, learning to question our assumptions and see the world with greater clarity. We then sharpened that skill into a practical edge, building a systematic framework for solving any problem by diagnosing its true root cause. We learned how to lead with analytical precision, building a foundation of trust and stability for our teams. We equipped ourselves with powerful strategies to make clear, confident decisions in the face of uncertainty. We elevated our thinking from analysis to insight, learning to see the bigger strategic picture. And finally, we discovered how to transform our greatest challenges into our most valuable wins. This is the complete framework for leadership in the modern world, a journey of continuous learning, critical thinking, and resilient growth. Thank you for investing your time with us. We hope this guide has provided you with valuable and actionable insights. For more content designed to empower your growth and sharpen your leadership skills, please remember to like this video, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to Success Attraction Mindset.